Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is FunBelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the FunBelt Podcast.
Welcome back to FunBelt Podcast. My name's Jeremy Harper from HowRazor.com. With me tonight is Dusty Thibodeaux from the Warhawk Report and Shane Mettlen from Daily News Record. Gentlemen, how are you tonight?
Better than Shane with all of his hatred for the Nears. They're coming to get you, Jeremy. They are coming to get you.
Well, they're coming to get Shane. They're not coming to get me because Shane is right there on their radar. Because Shane just cannot stop aggravating the Mountaineer faithful. What have you been doing, Shane?
Oh, there's some of them that like me. I don't know. I'm not even quite sure. I saw the promo tweet where I needed to apologize, and I'm not even quite sure what that was about.
Listen, if there is one fan base that's very hard to please, it would be Appalachian State. Those guys, I remember we used to get into all kinds of rows back in the day. It took some time, no longer feuding with Appalachian State. Thank God, because that's a good way to end up like just getting kidnapped and brought into the hills. So Shane,
Yeah,
you might want to hire some extra security. I don't know, maybe get a police car to circle your house. Maybe, arm yourself with some batons. Maybe take some karate. But just be careful with these guys. They're nuts for the Mountaineers.
Okay. Well, if I see any suspicious vehicles coming up the Blue Ridge Parkway, I will keep my head on a swivel.
Speaking of, you know what? There is no good segue. The good segue is that maybe the reason why there's some rancor between James Madison and Appalachian State is because James Madison seems to have found its groove back on the hardwood.
They seem to have. They've played quite well recently. You go back, I think 6 of the last 7 wins, and the loss was at Southern Miss, where so far everyone has lost. So, I mean, I think this is more along the lines of what I kind of expected to see from JMU, as opposed to when they had the 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season. But
now I don't have the stats in front of me, Shane, but are the Dukes in 3rd place now?
they are. They're tied with Marshall in 3rd. But if it ended today, it would hold the tiebreaker there. But there's still another game between JMU and Marshall coming up.
Now, Tibbs, where does that put the Warhawks then?
4th place, which
All right.
this past week had a great game where they beat the brakes off of Coastal Carolina. Coastal couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Warhawks were just on fire at one point. I think they were up 24 at the half. Wound up kind of letting off the accelerator. Second half won by, I think it was 12. And then we saw what happens when you can't hit a basket, and South Alabama does. You kind of get the brakes beat off of you on that way. But I tell you, all of that to say the Raging Cajuns still continue to be my pick for the regular season champs this past weekend, getting the win. Now 10 straight, all because they had the magical Cajun chicken back in the house at the Cajun Dome.
I don't pretend to understand the Cajun chicken. I don't think I was meant to understand the Cajun chicken. I'm just going to go ahead and accept its existence. But I will tell you, Tibbs, that Arkansas State sort of had the flip-flop of the Warhawks. We had we too beat Coastal Carolina, and they could not hit the broadside of the barn. I don't know what has happened to them, but they can't hit any shots. Red Wolves broke their 10-game losing streak. That was nice. They're like the opposite of the Cajuns. And then we got beat by a very sort of cooking South Alabama team. That might be a team that's ready to make a little bit of noise once it's time for the conference tournament. They've got a couple bigs on that team that can really throw down a slam dunk or two, which they did on us on many occasions. So
I'm not falling for the Jag trap again.
Damn, I did it again, didn't I?
But
Holy
look,
shit. Somebody
if you go
me.
back and look at South Alabama, though,
Uh-huh.
I think it's, maybe like 10 of their 13 losses, something like that, have been 10 or fewer points. They played a really tough schedule. They played USM and the Cajuns. They played them really tight. Those were, I think, 2-point game, two 4-point games, each one of those. And now they're on a 3-game winning streak. And they're kind of the de facto home team in Pensacola, right? I mean, they're the closest one. They're going to have a hard time climbing the standings enough to avoid having to play an extra game there, but they're looking like a dark horse to me outside of, those top 4 have kind of separated themselves a little bit, but they're looking like a little bit of a dark horse outside of that to me.
There's always, and Tibbs, back me up on this. There's always at least one, maybe even 2 Sunbelt teams that comes to this tournament. It's still a few weeks away. We might being a little premature here, but there's always at least 2 teams that comes in and just wrecks everything, right? Knocks off the top guy, goes on a big run. Somehow, like I remember a couple of years ago, Troy was something like a 7th seed or whatever, got in. There's always some sort of wackiness that happens. It seems to me, Dusty, that there's like several teams that could be that wacky team.
I never count out Georgia State. I mean, they have been absolutely horrible this year. 10-14 overall, 3-9 in Sunbelt Conference action. It would not surprise me to see them go on a run in Pensacola and wind up hoisting yet another Sunbelt Conference tournament trophy.
And wouldn't that just be absolutely horrible for the Sunbelt?
I think so, because as is, if we're looking at Southern Miss, the Cajuns, and Marshall, all 3 of which are in the mid-major top 25, those are your best chances to try to get that second bid, an at-large bid. If someone like Arkansas State, Georgia State were to sneak through the tournament and get that automatic, we'll fill up the NIT brackets and the C-level tournaments, but we'll still be looking for the second NCAA at-large bid. And probably with somebody that low, they're probably going to Dayton for first 4 as opposed to already locking up a game with a 13, 14 seed.
Yeah, I think you hit on it. I don't even think, an at-large bid is even on the radar right now. But if it's Louisiana or Southern Miss or Marshall or James Madison, if any of those 4 win the tournament, you're looking at, a 12-13 seed in the NCAA tournament with a chance to win a game, which would be huge. If it's not one of those teams, then you're all of a sudden looking at a 16 again and like not having much chance of really doing anything in the tournament. I don't think, a second bid, this isn't the year for a second bid, maybe next year, but the seeding is going to be huge.
See, this is what I think, like Keith Gill needs to come down off his throne. If, like, say, Georgia State wins the tournament, and he says, all right, guys, this was cute. This was a lot of fun, but we can't have Georgia State be the champion. We'll make the regular season champion the champion. They get to go. And the only people who would cry about it, of course, would be Georgia State, but who cares? Who cares if Georgia State complains, right?
Not a fan of that, because I like having the regular season champ in the NIT guaranteed, and then having the conference tournament winner, because it really lives up to the March Madness when it's your best team that's been able to string together those wins, represent your conference in the NCAA tournament.
You know why? You know why you like that format, Tibbs? Because you're a softie, man. You're a romantic at heart. You love the Cinderella stories. You love the underdogs. You're just that kind of guy. You know, you probably are like the biggest romantic during Valentine's Day. You're probably the guy with the candy and the flowers and the stuffed animals and the romance with the candles and the bath balls and like the fluffy slippers and maybe the men's lingerie. You probably got that all put together. Am I right?
Far from it. I think I asked my wife, what do you want for Valentine's Day? And her response was nothing.
I don't know how we got to talking about men's lingerie, but But we hit on something there. We've talked a little bit about, the possibility of expanding the tournament and whether we like it going to like 85 or 90 teams or whatever it would be. And to me, like that would be the one thing is if a conference like the Sun Belt was guaranteed both their regular season champion and the tournament champion, that would be one of the benefits of going to an expanded field. And can you imagine Thursday night, Louisiana going to Southern Miss, tied for first? Everything that would be on the line for a regular season game if the regular season champ was in line to get into the NCAA tournament.
Well, that would provide some juice for Sun Belt basketball, which has needed some kind of juice like that for a long time. But I have to admit, Shane, I'm kind of with the consensus of most people that I see in the ether of the internet that happen to think that expanding the tournament from, was it 68 teams now to a format of like 96 or 88 or whatever insane number they put up, just seems like it loses some of the magic of the tournament. It seems like it's already bloated enough. But I say this as a guy whose own team, the Red Wolves, has not seen a NCAA appearance since 1999. So yes, in some ways I'm like, yes, expand it to 300 teams. Maybe we get in. But at the same time, I'm wondering, Shane, you've given kind of your reasons to see it expand. In your heart, do you want to see it expand? Would you like to see more?
No, I think it's the perfect sporting event right now. It's the best sporting event to me in the world. And I mean, I'm sure everybody else in the world is going to say it's the World Cup or whatever, but like to me, there's nothing better than the NCAA tournament the way it is right now. And I don't want to see it expand, but I do think that if they did make the regular season matter more, that might be the one benefit to it if they decide to do it.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, I guess that's kind of what they're promising too with football, right? That they expand it to 12, that regular season conference champions would somehow get in, although I suspect it's really just a device to get more SEC teams in. But I guess we'll just see. Shane and Tibbs, maybe you guys have your fingers on this pulse a little more than I do. How serious is the talk of creating a wider pool for the NCAA basketball tournament?
I think it's going to happen. I mean, March Madness is the cash cow of NCAA. So in theory, more teams is more money. And so why not?
Yeah. And I think you also kind of got to remember there's new leadership in the NCAA, and they got saddled with a bad TV deal. Like the NCAA left money on the table by just continuing to go with CBS instead of really kind of opening up to the market. They could be making billions more dollars if they'd opened it up to bidding, and they didn't really. Now there's new leadership there. Expansion's one way to kind of get around that TV deal that you're saddled with right now.
So Jeremy, we try to follow every sport here at FunBelt Podcast across the Sun Belt Conference, right?
Absolutely, because we are equal opportunity Sun Belt lovers. If it's beach volleyball, we're in. If it's soccer, we're in. If it's tennis, we're in. If it's football, we're in. If it's men's basketball, well, maybe not me so much. But most people are in.
But we talked last year, Angie Hine, the gold standard there of Sun Belt, as she came in from Old Dominion, won the conference championship. But there was a leadership change at Troy this past year, and the guy they brought in, Stuart Gore, he's from my neck of the woods. He's from good old Northwestern State, now down in the loveliest, well, you can't say the loveliest village of the Plains because that's actually Auburn, but he's down in lower Alabama at Troy, taking over the Trojans program. This guy's done it all, Jeremy. He's got 5 conference titles, including one 2 years ago at Northwestern State, went to the NCAA regionals. So now we're stepping up our game in Sunbelt soccer even more. Welcome in there, Stuart Gore, as you are the head coach now of the Troy Trojans.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's great to be here.
So, I don't want to jump on any toes, but I just want to ask, Sunbelt has gotten to be a really good soccer conference. Where do you think Troy lies in that solar system that that the Sunbelt has created in terms of elite soccer programs?
Well, obviously you have to go off of last year, and it's not good. It's holding everybody else up at the bottom. So you're totally right. With the state of Sunbelt soccer right now is huge. And for the longest time, obviously South Alabama were the reigning champs year after year after year. And Graham, who obviously went to Arizona State, and then Richard Moody, who come in and just kept the train on the tracks and kept them rolling. And now obviously ODU and JMU come in and both great programs, well run, great schools. It's definitely, it jumped up its level in the past 2 years.
As you said, Troy at the bottom of the standing. So really it's a rebuild, but nothing that you haven't done before. When you started the program at Northwestern Ohio, an NAIA program, first year, I think you were 15-5 that year. Second year, national runner-up. Do we already set the bar that high at Troy that you can make that big of a swing?
On the spot.
I'll take it a game at a time, but I think we've all got to have standards, and it's about, for me, it's about sort of a rebuild, a reboot, so it's hopefully it's one of those movie reboots that's good, not a bad movie reboot. We've all seen those. So it's about, and I think, rebuilding confidence within the team, and bringing in players that can help us, develop and start to win more games than 3 games a year. Because for me, I win 3 games after 4 games. That's how I win 3 games.
So, you already mentioned South Alabama as being a perennial Sunbelt powerhouse in terms of women's soccer, and they are, and there's a couple other programs out there. But the difference between the other programs in South Alabama is that Troy really has a sort of hatred for South Alabama. Have you been sucked into that rivalry yet, or are you just
not yet? Me and Richard Moody are friends, so I talk to him here and again. So but always rivals are great things to have. And I know the girls talk about it, just hate South Al, so I'm pretty sure Brent Jones will make me dislike South Al, pretty sure.
So you're saying it's literally personal between you and South Alabama? Well,
Richard Moody's a Scottish guy, and obviously I'm English, so there you go. There's you can write that one. So, but my mum's from Scotland, so I'm So you can start the border war.
Now, in Troy, is there a lot of English accents in Troy that you can pick up on, or are you like the only guy?
Oh, I get a lot of the head tilts where I start to speak to people, and and I just tell them I'm from southern Arkansas, and I'm from a religious sect in southern Arkansas that have British accents. I get a lot of head tilts, big time.
I think that would work, Tibbs. I think he could also probably just say he's from Louisiana, and that would probably just work just as well, right?
See, Jeremy is an Arkansas State guy, and so they have no rivalry. So everyone he comes on, I feel like he's the guy going around at the bar at the end of the night, going, "You want to be my rival? You want to be my rival? You want to be my rival?" I'm
just trying to pick as many fights as I can. Nobody's taking me up on it. I think I wish that they were scared. I think they're just feel a little bit sorry for me.
Well, we played at Northwestern State last year. We played at Arkansas State, and I was really impressed with Jonesboro. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was going to get one red light, kind of one gas station kind of town, and I was actually really impressed with it.
Please don't encourage him, Coach. Please don't encourage him.
Jonesboro is the retail, medical, and academic center point for Northeast Arkansas. Never you forget that, Tibbs. I want you to refer to it that way every time you talk about Jonesboro.
It's the best Dairy Queen I've ever had.
It's a good Dairy Queen. It's really good.
So
good candies.
Coach, we talk about your players coming back. Obviously, you have a goalkeeper coming back, kind of the base that you got to build off of there, as well as Jordan Struck, I think is how you say her last name, the Arkansas transfer. Stack, yeah, that transferred in a couple years ago. Where do you see them kind of fitting in as you get ready to do this rebuild with the Trojans?
I think they're both natural leaders. Obviously, I'm adding the former associate head coach at Northwestern State, Eric Masters, to the staff here. He'll be our associate head here, and Eric's one of the best goalkeeper coaches in the country. Great recruiter, great person. So I think Lindsay, our goalkeeper hasn't had a goalkeeper coach in 2 years. So I think she's pumped to actually have somebody who's been in her shoes and been in her gloves, so to speak. And then and Stack's a forward who's a tireless work rate. Obviously got recruited to Arkansas and it didn't work out, but Stack's going into her senior year, and I've had conversations with her, and she wants to make it the best last year the best year.
As you come into the league, we talked about how good Sunbelt soccer has really become. Who do you see kind of standing out this upcoming year, and who do you think maybe will be your big rival?
Obviously, I think it's the teams in the middle. Obviously, Louisiana Lafayette, their head coach and me are very good friends. I coached against him in the Southland, in Chris McBride. Chris took over a similar situation here a year ago, and he's trying to move Lafayette up the table. So, a lot of those teams are sort of in the middle where they're trying to break the top 3 and 4, but we saw it last year where, Georgia Southern, and Chris Adams has done a phenomenal job there, and they were a tough team to beat. And that's the thing with the Sunbelt. Anybody can beat anybody. It's not an easy game. There really isn't. So anything can happen, with ODU and JMU coming into the conference, both ending up in the finals. I know Ange is a phenomenal coach. He's coached at the highest level internationally in Scotland, and they'll be, both her and JMU will be reloading for sure.
By the way, Angie told us that she put on the coach speak pretty thick on us. Oh, I don't know if we have the same kind of team as we had last year. I just hope that we can compete. Ended up winning the championship. Good for her. So you said that Troy is, we know that Troy is kind of starting, not, I hate to say from the bottom, but there is work to do. Where is most of the work needed in your opinion? Is it coaching scheme? Is it recruiting? Where do you think you have to put most of your attention?
Probably recruiting, and rebuilding confidence. Like I said, you got 3 coaches in 3 years, so you got 3 sets of different players. It's trying to find the matches of that, and then figuring out what's the best style to play with this team. I think that's a thing for me as a coach. It's not picking, well, this is how exactly I want to play. It's whatever suits the players of this coming year, and then slowly but surely trying to turn, sort of pick up the cruise ship and turn it around. Right now, we're trying to turn a cruise ship around in a paddling pool. So, it's a difficult scenario. So yeah, I think recruiting and rebuilding confidence and seeing what we've really got and who's ready to get on the bus.
Troy, a big football school. How do you compete with that as you get ready for your inaugural season?
Oh yeah, I think when they played Army, they sold out 30,000. I think that'll be me first game of the season. I think. I definitely think John Summerall is quaking in his boots with my hiring. I met the football guys. They're all fantastic. There's what I loved about here. There's no egos in the coaching staff, and all across, everybody wants to help each other. I think Troy football is only going to be, we can only use it as a massive recruiting tool. We've got a recruit coming on this weekend, and we've been talking to the football guys about touring the person over there, because that's a massive selling point. One of the best mid-major schools in the country. Why would we not try and sell that?
So where's your goal for this season then? Of course, the goal is always to win as many games as possible and do very well, but is there an incremental goals that you've set, or are you just taking it one game at a time?
I think you got to take it one game at a time. I think, yes, you got to set goals as things go on. But right now it's about, the schedule. Rob Lane already built the schedule for next year, and I think it's a good one. I think we're not playing teams that are outside our pay grade. So for me, it's just take it, every day at a time, preseason at a time, and then taking it one game at a time and seeing and maybe reevaluating the goals maybe at the start of the conference season and going, right, okay, where are we at? Can we make a push for a certain place, or what do the girls want?
Last question there for you, Coach. It's a young coaching staff there with John Summerall. Scott Cross is still in his youth. Baseball has a young coach. Do y'all ever get together and either kick around on the pitch, play some hoops or anything like that? And if so, who is the standout coach that you've ran across so far?
Oh, like all of them. I don't think Scott Cross actually played soccer for a long time. He was telling me the other day. His brother was the UTEMP women's head coach for 20 years. Scott said he slept with a soccer ball until he was like 12. So I know baseball player, I think they play a lot of pickup hoops. I'm 5'5". Basketball was middle school for me. I think I can turn into Allen Iverson. It's just, it doesn't go from there to here or to my feet. So, they've all been top notch. Their information they give you, they want to sit with you, they want to talk to you and you can get their spiel, but they also want to get ideas. They ask questions, Summerall, John Summerall's super accessible to us coaches and it's great. And we were just in his office 2 nights ago asking him if we ever had a football crazy dad who, on a recruitment visit, can they stop by and shake your hand? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever you need, when, I can't imagine, West Hart, Alabama's getting that access with Nick Saban, sort of thing. So, it's great people. Brent Jones wants to win at everything. That's the biggest reason I'm here. After speaking to the AD, he wants to win at absolutely everything. And most ADs want to win at football and basketball because they make the money. He wants to win at everything. And he was a former student athlete, which again is very rare in that level of athletic administration.
Well, Coach Gore, here's what you need to do. You need to challenge those clowns to darts, and then you need to wipe the floor with those guys.
I'm not a bad darts player. I'm all right at darts. I can hold my own at darts. Oh, Paul's my game.
Okay. Some billiards.
I told the football guys, if you don't let me in the lounge with the players' lounge at football, because I might, might clean up.
Get some of that NIL money from those guys.
Yes. I'm sure my compliance guy will love me on that part of my interview.
Well, Coach, we thank you so much and look forward to seeing how the Trojans do this upcoming season, your inaugural season in the FunBelt Conference, as we always follow all the sports here on a FunBelt Podcast.
Cool. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
So, Shane, we heard from the head soccer coach of Troy. And one thing that we've always wanted to do was have our own NIL student athlete to give us the inside scoop of what it's really like to try to find that balance of going to class, going to sports, having a social life, listening to FunBelt podcasts, of course, and everything in between. And we finally got our guy. He's a track and field athlete from Troy. I feel like this is a Troy heavy theme there. We were talking about women's basketball earlier as well. And now we heard from the soccer coach, and now we get to hear from a track guy as Maxwell George joins us as the inaugural FunBelt Podcast NIL spokesman. Welcome in there, Maxwell.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here. Glad to be the first.
I don't know if it's really that much of an honor, but go ahead and give us an introduction. Tell us about yourself and kind of how you became a Troy Trojan.
So my name is Maxwell George. Obviously, I'm from Demopolis, Alabama. Grew up in a small little town. Obviously, it's a 5A school in Alabama. And then over time, I ran cross country in high school, played baseball. Wasn't really that involved into the actual track side of running until actually I ended up at Troy. So cross country was the end all and be all. Was good enough in cross country to gain some couple interests and things like that. Same thing for baseball. And then once I was going through the college search of things, my dad, my senior, actually ended up started working over here. He got me kind of plugged in with some people. the interest from coaches came then once they saw my dad and they heard about me. And then it was kind of just like a blessing in the sense where Troy gave me an opportunity to run. They said, was going to work hard, was going to go to class, make my grades and things like that, because I mean, that's important at the end of the day. You can't be worrying about grades and things like that when you're trying to run a program, because you see it all across the country in just different sports where people academic eligibility. I had good grades. The coach was willing to kind of, a guy that never ran track, but a guy that ran cross country, really take a risk on him and give him a spot on the team. So I think also in the process, even if I wasn't going to do athletics, because that was also an option, I was just going to go to school. And I really thought about going to Florida State originally just for school. That was the dream, Florida State, be a NiL. And then when it came down to it, everything came together here. When I came through my tours to Troy's, if it was a family environment, family atmosphere, I knew it was a place where I could grow a lot as an individual and meet a lot of people and be successful, whether it was on the track or as a leader in the classroom or in academics as well.
I had like kind of a similar but opposite experience from you in college. I ran at the JUCO level, but I had never ran cross country in high school. My tiny little high school didn't even have a cross country team. I ran track, was fairly successful in mid distance. And they're like, well, you're going to run cross country in college too. So it's interesting how it all ends up working out for some of us in that regard.
I just had the hope and dream of playing college basketball. That's all I wanted to do. But then I realized that I was never going to make it. And so I had to find a real job, Shane.
Well, I mean, that was my dream too. But then it was like, I was 5'10" and could barely touch the rim, but I could actually run for a long time fairly fast. So that's how I ended up there.
So Maxwell, you run the 800, 2 laps around. I get winded just thinking about 1/4 of that. So what kind of conditioning do you have to do, and how do you prepare for the meets that are getting ready to come up here in a couple of months?
So the thing about track that I don't think a lot of people understand is that we don't compete for a whole semester. While a lot of these other teams like baseball, football, basketball, they'll have competitions type things in the fall and spring, or they'll have fall baseball, spring softball, or fall softball and things like that. But all fall we simply practice with no competition. And so a lot of the first kind of when we get back from campus, we won't start practice until after Labor Day, that first holiday in September. And it's a lot of kind of getting off that rust from the summer, because some people train, some people don't. They send us workouts to do, but a lot of it's we start with an endurance base, where it's a lot of longer repetitions of 8 200s and timed runs and things like that, just to get that fitness back that we lost obviously over the summer, or building upon what you were supposed to do over the summer. What the coach sent you, but you can't always guarantee what people do and don't do over the summer when coaches aren't there. So that first, probably from September to let's say like middle of October, is just nothing but endurance based and work like that. Then we get into a testing period where we will do certain types of just kind of overall testing when it comes to to see where our fitness is at when it gets to turning the calendar towards January, obviously competition. So we'll do kind of a weighted ball throw to kind of see where our strengths are at, combined with some things in the weight room. We'll do like maxes and things like that. We'll do a broad jump, and then we'll do a thing called a flying 30. And we'll do it's different for each event, but for the 800, we do this thing called the Cosmic Test, where we'll run as hard as we can for 60 seconds. Then you'll get 3 minutes rest, and then you'll run as hard as you can for 60 seconds. And there's an equation that our coach does that should give you a good estimated time of what your 800 times going to be right around then. And so after that, we'll go back into kind of a tech kind of phase where we'll add in more speed and we'll add in a little bit more endurance. And then once the calendar flips, we go into competition season. So that changes everything from the sense of what we do in the weight room and what we do on the track every day at practice. So like Mondays is going to be our core workout day, where we'll have a workout that's supposed to be a hard effort in what we do. Tuesday is kind of a little bit of endurance. Wednesday, we actually do yoga in the morning. Thursday is kind of a speed tech to kind of get us in mind of what we want to do in our race for the 800. Friday's kind of a pre-meet stretch. And then usually Saturdays, if we don't have a meet, we'll do a kind of a competition style practice, whether it's a hard effort or we'll compete that weekend.
So in addition to that, obviously you got to go to class. What's your intended major and what's next after college once you graduate?
So my attendant major currently is communications, and I have a minor in military science. So I'll actually commission as an officer in the United States Army in May.
Wow. So you get to go right there to Fort, what is that right there?
There's Fort Benning. That's right up the road.
Columbus.
Fort Rucker. Yes.
Fort Rucker is
But
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
I got assigned to Augusta, Georgia, Fort Gordon for signal, to be a signal officer.
I mean, what kind of sparked that path for you? Not only, becoming a track athlete, but then the military aspect of it.
I have several people in my family that have served in the military, and I honestly just want the true service to the country. I love this country, and I think it's the best way to kind of give back in a sense to our country that we live in. Also, in high school, I received a scholarship for complete free academics and things like that. So that's kind of enticing in a sense as well. But I think at the end of the day, if you look at the numbers, 1% of the country, 1% of Americans end up serving the country. And I think it's being able to be a part of something like that. I think that's something that's very honorable. And also to be able to kind of live up to the name of some of my family members that have done the same thing and to kind of walk the shoes that they did to make them very people that I value because of their high character and their values is something that I was looking afterwards and looking towards to do.
So in addition to the military leadership there, former SGA president, how do you find the balance to do all this and still actually want to do more by jumping on FunBelt Podcast?
Yeah. Well, honestly, so the way this ended up happening is that when I ended up signing super late that summer going into my freshman year, a lot of people end up signing, obviously the national signing days, things like that during their school year. I didn't sign until that July when I was already just committed to be a student at Troy. My parents were kind of just going back and forth, and I was like, I'm going to come to Troy anyway. And if I want to do the track thing, I'll kind of just figure it out and I'll do it. And so obviously if you come to your orientation session, you already have a dorm and things like that set. And so because we don't practice until September, because I came so late, I didn't have roommates that were on the track team. So then I was kind of forced to make friends that weren't on the track team. And so I used that first month of meeting everyone I possibly could know. And then we have this thing called Freshman Forum. I applied, I got into it. And since then, it was just like my kind of leadership experience kind of took off from the student government perspective. And I think track is not a lot of people think about it this way, but for me, running is a very peaceful thing in my head. Is that when I run, it's a good time to kind of take a step back from whatever's going on in life. Like I went on my run today, and it's just like I kind of regathered all my thoughts for the week. It's like, this is what I need to do. And I was working on homework 20 minutes ago because of that kind of just that reset and gathering of what I get from track. And I think also being able to expand on just being more than just a student athlete is what I wanted to do, is just being able to get involved and being able to say that, yes, I can run track and I can do these things as well. But also I have a leadership experience and skills that if I wasn't going into the Army, it's a very sellable resume to whoever I want to get employed by. And I think especially last year in being the actual president, it was a lot of time management. There was a lot of communication back and forth between coaches. And that's me and Coach Davis have a good relationship. And so it was like, I might not be able to practice today at 2:00 because I have a meeting at 2:00, but I'm going to get my workout sometime during the day, whether it's at 3:00 or holding you until 5 until I get done. But we were in that constant communication and back and forth. Just knowing what I was doing is important, and knowing that I was also representing the name of Troy Track and Field on a wider base than a lot of athletes get to. So,
I mean, one thing you just hit on there was that, aspect of running track and, running mid distance, and you're going to be out on the road, sometimes by yourself for a long time. And you find that people, I know a lot of runners do. That's something, it jumps out to me. I'm sure you're on campus. It seems like all the athletes know each other, hang out, everything. But is that something you find just unique to like your sport or something that stands apart from, all the other athletes,
Definitely. And I think every sport has their own way of it as well. Like I played baseball growing up all my life, and it's going a long toss or just go hitting off the tee can have that same effect. But like running for I did a 60-minute run today. Like that's something that genuinely is you, and you're out there by yourself. And I think that's something that is very unique with track, is that you're gaining a lot from it as well, but it's just like it's just you and your head just thinking and clearing your mind and getting just kind of that just mode and zone that obviously you know about from running track as well. But it's a feeling that not a lot of people understand, especially because it's, okay, why are you running for 60 minutes? I can't run for 10. But you're thinking and you're finding the battles in your head while you're running. So it's very peaceful and very, very unique. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Can be peaceful. I'll ask you this. Do your coaches ever find crazy places for you guys to go out and do road work or whatever? I had a coach who took us where they were building a highway. And so we were running up the like overpasses they were building, or, had one they called a pig farm, and we had to kind of hold our breaths while we were like running out in the middle of nowhere.
So our coach doesn't. He kind of lets our long runs to be on our weekends. So we kind of decide where we do. So it's kind of like I'll find a group of guys and they'll go find the crazy places to run, just because like I'll probably do I usually do my long runs with the cross country runners. And those are the guys that are running in the backwoods of Alabama somewhere, climbing up trees and stuff like that during the middle of runs, that are just like, how did you find this place? How much time did you spend on Google Maps trying to find this 3-mile road to go up and down on?
Yeah. And do you ever encounter people who are out, in the middle of nowhere, and they don't think they're just going to see anybody, and then all of a sudden the whole Troy cross country team's like there, and they're like, what's going on here?
I think so. I get my hair cut a little bit out of town, and I suggested that to like one of my friends, and they said, yeah, while we're there, we looked on the side of the road and we saw cross country runners in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, that's them, and they love it. So
yeah.
This past year was a great year to be a Troy Trojan, winning the Sun Belt, hosting the Sun Belt Conference Championship game, getting a big bowl game. As the student side, how was that on campus as all that developed?
So I got here in 2019, and from 2019 and before the start of this year, we won 15 total games. We won 12 this year. So honestly, if you asked me at the beginning of the season, I didn't think we were going to win. I remember driving with my dad. We were going somewhere, and I was like, I just want 6 wins, Dad. I want to go to a bowl game my senior year. Got to go to a bowl game. I just need 6 wins. And I was going through the schedule. I was like, we're going to beat South. We're going to beat this team. Well, South was kind of questionable going up to it, but I was like, I just need 6 wins. And so as a student, like each week kind of gained its own hype and its own just kind of developed. And honestly, that first week, when we traveled to Ole Miss, I went to Oxford for that game, and a ton of students were there. And I was like, this is interesting. Like first of all, we haven't had a game like this in a while, to be able to like travel to like that, and to see that the students came out and supported us like that was very interesting. And then next week we played Alabama A&M at home, and I was like, okay, first game of the season, we have the same little hype. And then our hearts were shattered the next week at App State. But at the same time, with our hearts being shattered, was like, this is a team that has ran us up and down the field for the last 4 or 5 years, and we were one play away from beating them. And so some lost hope, some were kind of in between. And in my head, I was like, if things go right, we're going to see them again. Things went right on our side, clearly not them, but we're going to see them again, and this could be good. This is a step towards progress. And I mean, every game was interesting the whole year. It kept us dialed in, because there were some games that we didn't score a point until the second half or the fourth quarter. And I think gradually you saw as a student, as we kept on winning games, the students got more invested, more engaged into what Coach Summerall was doing. And then also being able to have a conference championship at home was my senior year. Whoever's writing scripts or whatever, they couldn't have planned it any better. And I think you truly saw the students kind of re-fall in love back with Troy, because we had three lull years there of football. And I think you truly got a sense of that Trojan pride and that Trojan family kind of regathering. And then having a bowl game in Orlando, we had a student section at the bowl game because so many people traveled down there. So I think over time, it was really cool to see what some of these other schools got to experience, even within our conference. Like Coastal, UOL, and App State had their runs within the last 3 or 4 years. And so getting to experience what they experienced and now being able to have it here, and I think hopefully something they can build on with all the sports, and sense of Trojan pride that was built from that entire experience in the fall.
Maxwell, first of many appearances for you on FunBelt Podcast. We look forward to having you again next week as we catch up with you to get the inside scoop of what's going on in the student athlete life, and looking forward to it from there.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
the first interview with our NIL deal, guys. It was something that we've been working on for a while. We got the first bit. We have the foundation laid. We now know all about Maxwell. And now we'll get the weekly inside scoop of what it's like to be a student athlete in the Sun Belt Conference.
That's completely awesome, man. You know what? The hard work, the vitamins, the prayers finally paid off for us. We finally got that NIL guy. Yes. If only I was there for the interview, that would have been good.
Yeah. And
Maybe
now,
next time.
going forward, we'll have to include him in our plugs, promos, and parting shots. And Jeremy, since you weren't here, the floor is yours.
Check out howrazor.com, you know, kind of monitoring this train wreck of a season for Arkansas State and their basketball programs. Arkansas State did pick up that win this weekend over Coastal Carolina, which was exciting. So we're all excited about that in Jonesboro. But it's been a pretty hard season to watch. Parting shot. You know, I don't know if I have a parting shot like a TV show. Oh, you know what? I've been watching Severance. Have you guys been watching that?
Great show.
Yeah, I watched it.
Both of
Watched it a while back.
Okay, but did you finish it, Shane?
Yes. Yeah.
And Dusty, did you finish it?
I did.
Okay, all right, good, all right. Because I'm about 4 episodes in.
So we need to ruin it for you.
Don't ruin it for me, but you need to tell me, should I stick with it? Because
Definitely.
it's a little slow right now. It's kind of a slow burn. The
Yeah.
performances are great. You know, I
You're
get
just starting to get into it.
it. Okay. So I should stick with it tonight. Like tonight,
Yeah.
I should go ahead, turn it on, get a couple more episodes in. All right. So that's my parting shot. My parting shot is Jeremy Harper is going to stick with Severance and see where this bizarre road takes me.
Shane, what do you have?
Nothing that good.
Nothing better than Severance?
Yeah. My plug, as always, you know, dnronline.com/sunbeltextra. Check it out. I got my trip booked for Pensacola, so in a few weeks we'll have all kinds of stuff from there. Yeah, I don't have much of a parting shot. I've already finished
Noah
Severance.
Fleischman going to be joining you?
I don't believe so.
No,
Biggest
Noah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Oh, okay. Because we like Noah, don't we, Dusty? Noah's a good guy.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't pick fights with opposing fans.
You know what? Everybody loves Noah. Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
the prickly, sort of cantankerous sports reporter that some of you guys at Daily News Record are.
Yeah.
Tibbs, give us your parting shot, your plug, your promo.
Plug is always warhawkreport.com.
Good
My
plug.
promo with the next ULM win, ULM head coach Keith Richard will be the second highest or will have the second most career Sun Belt Conference victories with 119, 86, 87 at ULM, 32 when he was at Louisiana Tech. He's currently tied with Kermit Davis, who was at Middle Tennessee for long term.
Wow, I would not have guessed that.
My parting shot.
Yeah.
If you were going to steal money, Jeremy,
Okay.
what would you steal the money for?
What would I steal it for or from?
For.
Let's see. You know what? I would like to think I would steal it for a good cause. Like I would take the money from the rich, and I would redistribute it to the poor. That's
you're
what I
giving-
would do.
So you're giving it to the Arkansas State Collective. Okay. Shane, if you were going to steal money, what are you stealing it for?
Pay some bills, probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How about the woman in Illinois recently indicted for stealing $1.5 million to buy chicken wings?
Now, wait a second. Okay.
Wait.
Here's the story I heard.
Yeah, I heard this differently. I heard she stole $1 million worth of chicken wings.
That's what I heard. I heard that she stole $1.5 million worth of chicken wings that was supposed to go to a school district.
Yeah. She stole money for chicken wings. I mean, I love some wings, but I don't know if I'm doing a stretch for hot wings.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You know what? I've just started my journey down the path of hot wings. I never really liked them until about 2 years ago. And when COVID hit, when COVID started, I started making my own hot wings. I could see $1.5 million in hot wings. You know what? There might not be a better reason to do a stretch in the prison.
I don't know. I was at a Costco the other day.
Yeah.
And then, they've got all their stuff out, people getting ready for the Super Bowl. So pretty much their entire chicken department is wings right now. And it's a good price. It's not worth the time when you can just, buy Costco size package of wings and, shell out the
Now,
20 for it. I don't know if it's worth the time.
Now, do you think she stole, $1.5 million in chicken wings to redistribute them to the neighborhood? Like to be like real popular? Like, hey, everybody come down for chicken wings.
I would hope she was running a food truck.
Or maybe she's going to have the biggest Super Bowl party anybody's ever seen.
Oh, that would be worth it. It'd be like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life when the sheriff just rips apart the warrant for his arrest. That's what it should have been like. Like we're going to arrest you for stealing all these chicken wings. And then she goes, yeah, but wait, I'm here to have the world's biggest Super Bowl party. It'd be like, oh, it's okay.
Just know, Jeremy, whenever we get together for a tailgate, I will cook you some wings that will burn, but they will be the best wings you've ever had.
You know what? Here's the thing. I imagine that's true. Even in that COVID time, I never quite perfected wings. Like I like baking them in the oven, and I don't know if that's the best place to do that.
Air fryer.
Air fryer. All right, I might watch that.
If you can find a watering hole that just does it well, it's worth the trip every once in a while.
Yeah, we got a pizza place here in Little Rock that does them pretty well. So I usually
Pizza Inn, sponsored by Lincoln Pear.